just heating it up so it doesn't suck the heat out of my steel when I start hammering. Anvil can be a bit greedy when it's cold. It wants all the heat.
And as you were just telling me, you said that won't actually break the steel because it's been what?
It's been annealed, softened.
And you have to do that before you work with it, correct?
Yeah, it helps. You know, and if you have steel that is already hard, you can anneal it, pull the hardness back out of it.
So essentially, you could take a blade that had already been, 100% made in fashion, and you could refashion that.
Sometimes.
Take the hardness out of it and rework it.
Sometimes. Right. I'll actually, I got a knife in there. I'll show you what happens when it fails.
Right on. Here's a look at the actual heating process going on. He's going to take that piece of metal that's in there and set it on here.
So this is one I made, and I tried to reharden it. For some reason, it didn't harden through here. Just the tip and right here were hard. So, trying to reharden it, which was a mistake because it's so thin. I should have just made a new knife. It cracked. Right there.
Let me take that out to the light. Oh yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah. It was just, it was so thin here and so thick here, and this cooled off way faster than this did. And there was just too much stress right there for it. So in the bin of failures.
So when you're taking a piece of this steel and turning it into a knife, I imagine you cut this shape out first before you start working it?
Yeah. And one thing I learned too, doing things the hard way like I like to, drill your pinholes first, unless you have a mill and some very expensive tungsten carbide bits.
I imagine you harden the metal and then learn that lesson once?
Yeah, trying to drill through hardened steel.
Right on.
You'll break
that's
bit,
amazing
break
to me
steel.
that you can take metal and change its properties that much just from different heating processes and cooling processes. I think that's cool.
Well, and the more
no pun intended.
when when you're heating the steel and you're banging on the steel, all the molecules inside it, they rearrange themselves, and it just throws off the grain structure of the steel. It weakens the steel, so then you have to come back and normalize the steel, which is just a process of heating the steel back up, not quite to forge temperature, just getting the steel good and hot, and then pull it off and let it cool down to room temperature, and do that a few times, and it kind of brings all the molecules back in alignment, and gives the steel some of its strength back before you harden it. Because the second you harden it, all kinds of stress is put back in that blade. And yes, the steel is hard, and you could sharpen it and you would have a knife, but if you drop it, it'll probably shatter like glass because it still has all that built-up tension inside of it. You have to alleviate that tension, and that comes with the tempering cycle. With the steel I use, the two-hour cycles at 400 degrees, it just kind of alleviates all that stress. It's almost like a massage for the steel. It works out all that tension. Once you do that, if you drop the blade, it shouldn't break. If it does break, then you've done it wrong.
Now, as far as these tools like the anvil and this, I don't know what to call it because you actually made it yourself. Both of these he made himself.
It's like a steel stretcher.
He uses this, to stretch steel. How often are you actually doing something like that when you're making a blade?
It really depends on what kind of steel. Like I made this for when I do hand-hammered Damascus. Or attempt hand-hammered Damascus.
Okay, so this tool is actually for taking pieces of metal and hammering them together and bonding them.
Yeah, and if I start, with a piece of steel that's this big and that thick, but I want it to be, say about that long and thin, I need this, and it pinches, and you don't have to hit real hard because, hell, I think it's probably 5-6 pounds.
Yeah, no, I picked it up. It's definitely heavy.
Yeah, it'll wear your arm out. There we go.
Right, this is the process I was talking about where he's actually sticking that plate on there just to help keep heat in the anvil. So that's not a piece that he's working on, that's actually a tool.
I thought about working that piece of steel, but it's seen better days. I guarantee it's loaded with stress fractures. So works great to heat up the anvil. So we're 1400 degrees. You see it getting darker. It's about 1300, 1200, 1100. Around there.
As the blade, at that point, do you have to work that at all? Like with the hammer?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's like so. I kind of feel like what I'm doing is a little cheating. A lot of people do it. You cut your basic shape out. I call it freeform, and then I hammer in all the belts, and that's where you'll get some cool turns. So like when I start hammering this right here is going to curl up like Bowie tip, and I used to fight it. Like, no, I don't want you to go that way, Steel. Don't do that.
Yeah, I imagine it would change striations and make all kinds of things
And you'll just end up spending your time just chasing things. And you won't ever get anything accomplished. Just wait till the end to straighten things out. But yeah, the steel wants to move in a certain way, so just let it do its thing. Go with it.
You're eventually going to have to tell me what the hell that is.
That big thing?
The closest one to this.
Oh, this? The baby coffin? That's just what people have been calling it. That was a forge I made. It's a coal forge.
All of those are forges out there, right? All three of them?
This little one I want to turn into a forge. I want to take those gas nozzles, drill 2 holes in that, stand that bitch up on its side, and do forge. But it's a kiln made for melting metal.
Very interesting. And all of those, that was actually handmade by you, correct?
This one was. Those 2 were made by a dentist.
Right on.
Weird. But yeah, to put air to this, right here, we got this guy, just an inline fan.
Yeah, right on. Like something for blowing up like a...
They use them in greenhouses. You can buy charcoal filters, circulates air.
I've got a stronger one if you ever need it, but I don't know if it'd be too much or not. It's made for blowing up inflatables.
Okay. No, that one honestly was too strong. Like, well, when I cranked it. But yeah, it supplies enough air to get that thing hot enough with coal to forge. I made a couple of knives out of that one. It's just hard to control the temperature.
And is this one you made or bought that we're working with here?
Oh, I bought this shit. Bought it. It's like
that's just steel and then some kind of like lining.
Yeah, it's a high temperature fiberglass.
Oh, wow, I can see how that's...
See how fast it sucked the heat out of it though?
Yeah.
I mean that thing's not cold.
Yeah, it almost turned black instantly.
Yeah. It's a fiberglass, high temperature fiberglass insulation that you coat with. It's like it's like mud, like drywall mud, but can handle super high temperatures. Because yes, that fiberglass can handle the temperature, but when you go poking around, it likes to break down, and then you have superheated glass fibers flying around in the air. Don't want to breathe that in.
Yeah. That's better than smoking.
Lots quicker.
Right on. So that's why you have to go in these short bursts versus, like, say if you're watching Alex Steele, one of his YouTube videos.
Yeah, when he's forging like a chunk of Damascus
Yeah.
like that, oh my God, man.
But he can hammer on it for 2 minutes before I have to put it
easily.
back in.
Yeah, easy.
But that's because it's transferring its heat out quicker when it's thin.
and you're talking a chunk of steel that's probably 10 inches thick by 5 inches wide.
Would he be working in the same temperatures though?
Yeah, it'd be the same temperatures.
Right.
It just takes a lot longer to get it there because it is so thick, and you have to make sure that it's that hot in the very middle. Which I had some Damascus around here that I had that issue. It's like 9 layers, and I didn't let it soak in the heat long enough. So the center, actually there it is right there. Give me 1 second, I'll. Don't get much hammer time. So this.
Let's walk over to the light if you don't mind. That way everybody can see it.
Yeah. There's 8 layers, some 80 CRV2 and some 15 and 20.
Were these two pieces together at one point?
Yeah, they were welded. But so you can see the color difference here. See how it's, you still see some silver in there. It didn't get hot enough in the middle. So the edges were hot, but not in the center. And when I started hammering on it, thought it was together, and I turned it to hit to see if everything had welded, and it just popped apart. Sucking the heat out. Here's what I've been working on.
Holy shit.
That's it's about the size of that cleaver I made for Buster. I just didn't want to make another cleaver like that.
That's freaking. Holy shit. So anyway, when you're buying a handmade knife like this, you're definitely not buying something that's, being made in another country for a very small amount of money, and they're trying to make it as cheap as they possibly can. Like the reason you're paying, upwards of, a couple of $100s for one of these knives is because it takes days to make one. The process that it goes through, it's not like it can just be slammed out and this guy's making, 10 of them an hour. It's like 2 days for a knife. Now, granted, he could work on multiple knives during the day and maybe knock out a few knives by the end of a week, but as far as actual man time per knife, we're talking about, imagine your entire week at your job going towards making one thing for somebody. How much money would you need to make to live off of that? So that's why they cost so much. And because imagine the perfection that goes into having your hands on making something. The control here is 10 times what it would be in some factory or somewhere.
And the arm hair loss.
Well, you've still managed to keep some of your arm hair. You can
hot.
at least test your sharpening skills.
Yeah.
My arms are bare from testing my sharpening skills.
You can see. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got a dedicated spot right here.
You can definitely tell what arm he sharpens with. Or he tests his sharpening with. When you get a chance, pull that knife out of your pocket. And let me put that on the camera real quick.
That's my beater. That was like the first one I made like that
You call that a beater. Y'all hear that? He calls this a beater. It's one of the most beautiful knives I've ever seen in my life. The balance is perfect.
Give me 1 second, I'll show you why I call it a beater.
And I'm telling you, this thing would split your hair. It wouldn't shave it, it would just split it right in half.
I'd steal.
I'd steal. I'm starting to be able to see what he was talking about by working the steel and how the actual blade has expanded there out towards the tip. And on this blade that he's working right now, it's actually starting to kind of fan out there. So the whole design of the blade tip has changed. He's saying that you want to work with that because otherwise you may be stressing the steel. Again, something that you couldn't keep up with in a factory.
I was splitting oak firewood with this thing when we went camping. Just hoping it'll break my ironwood stick.
You saw it here first, folks. That wasn't just firewood either, people. That was a 2x4. If that had just been a log, it would have split much easier. And you saw it here. He's shaving with it afterwards. And that's his beater. His beater. Don't worry, we're gonna show you some of his not beaters. Some of the knives that he's like really proud of. He's got them in a store locally. I don't know if we're gonna make it by there today, but I am gonna make it by there to check out what's in his display case so that y'all can see them up front. And I'm gonna give links to his social media page. He's got an Instagram page where his wife posts pictures of the knives. She does a pretty good job too. She does a good presentation on some of them. And of course you're going to have his information if you're interested in getting one of these knives. I'm planning on doing something like a giveaway when we get up towards 1,000 subscribers where we may actually give away one of his knives. I may buy one of his knives and give them to one of our subscribers. But we'll talk about that once we get a little bit closer. Right now we're at 50, so we've got a ways to go. But at this point, because I'm telling you, you want one of these knives. I can't afford to buy one or I'd have one already. But he's told me I can come over here and make one. So y'all are going to get to see that on a future video as well, which that'll be interesting. Once you get the general shape that you want, how do you make sure that it's true and flat?
I use like a straining jig. I got this giant piece of railroad track, you know, between vise and railroad track.
But is that a process that you have to like hammer it back straight, or
no? You can
wedge it, or are there multiple ways you can do it?
There's many ways you can do it.
But is it a process like you have it heated?
Yeah, get it hot.
Flatten it out and let it cool while it's on pressure? Pressure? Okay. I didn't know if you worked it.
No, because you can actually take like a hot piece of steel, get it all hot, lay it here. The center is going to cool before the ends will, and the steel will actually bend.
Yeah.
So if you're going to cool it, press it, cool it evenly. That way, all the surface cools at the same rate, right, or close to the same rate.
Is that, I'm guessing that's part of what puts the tension in the steel that you have to alleviate later?
The heat, the cool, the constant beat of the hammer, I mean, all that just puts stress.
Right.
In the steel. Because like the molecules are expanding and contracting while getting hit. So things kind of get out of the edge.
So this is the straight one here, part of it.
Yeah, part of it.
I see that taking the heat out of it too.
Yeah.
As soon as you clamp down.
Right. Yeah, you can get a shot of it, and you can see it like right here. It's curved a little left.
Yeah, I see it. The handle is too.
Yeah.
Ooh, you can feel the heat still. May not be glowing.
It's still real
It's
hot.
still really hot. Really hot. So would this still be considered hand forged?
Yeah, I would say there's forging
I mean,
involved.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I was thinking. Like,
Steel
I didn't
and
realize
anvil.
how much of forging was actually still involved.
Yeah.
With knife steel blanks.
now with
Well, these aren't really blanks though. This is knife steel you're buying
and then
and making your own blank,
Right.
And then working
yeah,
the
you
blank.
can buy a blank that is already cut out and ground
Yeah,
to look like a knife.
that's the actual cheating way.
Yeah, and then
You
it's
mentioned
already
earlier
hardened.
you thought you were cheating a little bit.
Little bit.
I disagree. I
Yeah.
think you're actually who the hell is actually smelting their own steel? Like that, what else could you do other than smelt it? and be
Well,
on point?
it's taking just a bar of steel like this and hammering it out
Yeah, I mean,
into
you're-
the knife shape.
You're
versus-
going from this
Yeah.
to a knife. Like the only other process you could add would be to smelt the metal yourself, and
All right.
that's a little ridiculous. Yeah, I'd say that was getting hot considering your tool is smoking. Hey John, your tool's smoking. For those of you that don't actually know me personally, John and I have been friends for going on 20 years now. We actually lived together. I lived with him at his, was that your dad's house?
It was my dad's house, yeah.
That was back in what, 03? Couldn't have been much later than that. I think that was 02. Maybe 03.
Can't remember.
Anyway, so almost 20 years we've known each other, and it probably shows in the video. We're fairly comfortable with each other. But yeah, so this guy has always been, I don't know if, not really a techie, more of he's the EDC guy, everyday carry. He always had a flashlight, he always had a knife. They were never bullshit knives. He's always carried 1911s, really nice ones, chamfered edges on everything. We're talking the good stuff. He's had an appreciation for fine mechanical devices, cars, you name it. Like he's like me, and I'm like him, and you're like us. We all love this kind of stuff, and that's what got him into, he decided I could do better. I could make something for myself, and it ended up being exactly what I wanted, and he did. And then he realized, well, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this. So that's how this all got started out, was just from passion and love. And what better place to come from? Hey guys and girls, I had no idea how long this was going to end up being, or how many videos I was going to have to split it up in, so I didn't film any kind of intro or outros on site or anything like that. I feel like I'm definitely going to split this up into multiple videos because there's a lot of good information in here, and John's an interesting guy. Hanging out with him actually is really, really fun. It's been a long time since I've done it, so I'm going back over there a few times this week. We're going to go from the beginning to the end of the process of making the knife, and you'll learn a lot watching the videos. You'll get to see some of his finished products. Definitely going to be at least 4 or 5 videos though, because it's several days worth of work to do one knife. So obviously there's no way I could get it all in one video. But y'all stay tuned, because I'm gonna have that coming up. We're gonna have more work on the truck, and just gonna be doing as much as we can for you guys to, get you to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, because I'm actually starting to really like doing this. I want to build the channel up, and the only way I can is if y'all click that little button and let YouTube know that this is actually interesting. So I'm not real big into like and subscribe, like asking for it and all that whatnot, but I guess at this point, if I want you to, I'm gonna have to ask you to. Otherwise, who cares? So it's free for y'all to do. Just click the button. It helps me out a lot. Who knows, maybe one day somebody will actually give me a part or a tool or something like that. Wouldn't that be awesome? I could be that dude. But anyway, you guys take it easy. I'll see you next time. Thank you.